Good morning, friends. Well, today the church presents us the life of St. Lawrence, and we know little of St. Lawrence. We certainly know that he's a martyr. What we do know is that he lived during the early days of the church when the church was going through great persecution, and they had gone into this era, into the church, and they really executed many of those believers, especially the church leaders. And so once having done that, they now go to the church and they're ready to ransack the church and take all the wealths of the church there in Rome. And so they come to St. Lawrence and they ask St. Lawrence, we're all, to hand us over all your goods, all the expensive, all the things, all the treasures in life. And he says to the leader at that point, and he said, well, our treasure is right out here. It's all the poor. Of course, the leader was incensed and would kill him as a result of that. But we see St. Lawrence, what did he see as the treasure in his life? It was serving the poor. And boy, the readings today really kind of speak that, don't they? The first one, if you picked up a part inside the first reading that I think is kind of well worth dwelling on, it's being a cheerful giver. And the second one kind of speaks to us in a different way. It reminds us, that our life is to be lived not for ourselves. Our life is to be lived for God. So it reminds me of that first commandment. I am the Lord your God. You shall love no other gods. You shall love me with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And the second one is similar. You shall love your neighbor. So we're reminded that to really live the Christian life, to be a true disciple of Jesus, we always have to be putting the other person as more important than us. That's more difficult because, you know what? If we watch TV, if we look at our culture, things can happen when we become more self-absorbed than thinking of other people. Now, I don't want to be holier than thou and say I'm perfect inside this, because I have my staff here and my friends who will show you I'm not that way at this point. I mean, I try the best that I can, but I'll be honest with you, when it comes to that idea of treating your neighbor like you treat God, when I'm in my car, that certainly never comes to mind. When I see somebody who wants to pull out of the Dunkin' Donuts and I'm in a hurry, I never put that in mind. I just keep on going. And those are the things that if you really were down to that detail of even when you're driving, putting other people ahead, you are a holy person. Now, I aim to get to that point because I know those people who are like that, those are happy people, aren't they? They're not rushed in this life. Oh, they might have to get to this point or that point, but they know how to prepare their life in such a way that they're even leaving time in consideration for the other person. I love that first reading about being a cheerful giver, because you're a cheerful giver in everything that you do. What's going to happen? You're going to find happiness in your life, aren't you? Sure you are. And the greatest thing is, you're going to please God. And isn't our life all about pleasing God? Listen, so how do we get to that point? I'm going to tell you something. One of the ways we're going to get to that point is we know the Bible and we know it well. My friends, we need to do a better job of picking up the Bible and reading His inspired Word, because His inspired Word is going to show us how to cast off selfless thoughts and bring in the selfless thoughts that give great joy and glory to God, but in turn, the beautiful mystery is that it brings happiness into our lives.